Saints second-year quarterback Spencer Rattler has been playing better than you may think. He's starting to get some national attention from people who cover the NFL in general, people who cover the league. He's starting to get some recognition for what he's been doing this season. And it's kind of weird because some Saints fans don't like him, but people around the league are starting to pick up and take notice of what he's been doing. And through 6 games of the NFL season, you look at some of the stats and you look at these cherry-picked stats that I'm about to show you because I have an agenda to prove. I'm going to take these very specific stats and show you them to prove how good he's been playing. He's actually been playing good, and I think he's actually been playing better than a lot of people might have expected him to play. And that's what we're going to be looking at in today's video, how Spencer Rattler has actually been playing better than you may think through the first 6 weeks of the season. I'm Cash. You should take 5 seconds to like the video and subscribe. I'll wait. Yeah, do it. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're at 14.6. We're almost at 14.7. We're at least getting there. I need your help and support though. And with all that being said, let's dive into Spencer Rattler's 2025 season so far. So Spencer Rattler has been playing relatively well for the New Orleans Saints through the first 6 weeks of the season, and this is pretty crazy to think about considering that they tried to replace him back in April by drafting Tyler Shuck in the 2nd round with the 40th overall pick and had a quarterback competition, and somehow Spencer Rattler was able to beat him out. And through the first 6 weeks of the season, it doesn't look like he's trying to give that job back to Tyler Shuck, and it doesn't look like Tyler Shuck is going to be seeing the field anytime soon. That's just at least my opinion. Now, of course, Spencer Rattler, the best way to do that is to win games, and they've only won one game to this point, and the schedule is a little bit tough coming up. After the Bears, they got the Bucks and the Rams. Like, that's going to be a tough stretch, but Spencer Rattler, for the most part, I think has been doing his job. Why don't we just take a look at some of the players who are in their 2nd season at the quarterback position from that 2024 NFL draft, just to compare and see how Spencer Rattler compares to these other quarterbacks. All right, so here are the 2nd-year quarterbacks from the 2024 season. Why don't we make sure we can get everyone on here? There we go. So Maye, I think we can all mutually agree, has been playing the best of all the 2nd-year quarterbacks. Like, the dude's an MVP candidate. He's a mini Josh Allen. Maye's absurd. He's definitely playing the best. Bo Nix, I feel like he's had an up and down season. Some good moments, some bad moments. That defense over there, though, is definitely helping them win games, I think, a little bit more than Bo Nix. But it's better for the Broncos to figure it out while they're winning, and Bo Nix to figure it out while they're winning as opposed to losing. Jaden, decent stats for a guy who, missed 3 games with that knee sprain injury. He's playing with a brace on. Caleb Williams having a solid season so far. 11 total touchdowns, the 2nd most on this list. That's pretty good. That Ben Johnson offense, he's got a lot of weapons. Looks like they're starting to put it together. Michael Penix, they had a bye week, so maybe these numbers aren't exactly correct. Same with Caleb Williams, but Michael Penix is weird. You see some of the highs, you see some of the lows. Don't know what to make of it. And then here's Spencer Rattler, and JJ McCarthy's at the bottom of this list. Like, come on. But Rattler and Penix almost identical. Penix did miss a game due to that bye week, so maybe Penix's numbers would be better than Rattler's if they played the same amount. Same with Caleb. But Rattler has more touchdowns than Penix and McCarthy. Guys who are picked within the top 12. It was pick 8 and pick 11, I think, for those guys. Caleb Williams looking good. But Spencer Rattler, numbers-wise, I mean, he's pretty much within the realm of playing the same level of QB play, I think, as Michael Penix. Bo Nix, you could argue Caleb Williams, although he does have almost double the amount of touchdowns. And really, touchdowns matter a lot more than yards. That's just my opinion. But regardless, I think Spencer Rattler is holding his own and is making a name for himself as the 2nd-year quarterback who is playing relatively well compared to the other 2nd-year quarterbacks. If I had to rank these guys just based off of 2025 alone, it's Maye at the top. He's number 1. I'd probably go... this is tough. I'd probably say, like, Caleb 2nd, just because Jaden's missed a few games. Then I'd go Jaden, and then really Penix, Rattler, and Bo Nix are kind of playing the same level of football. That's just my opinion, and that's not a bad thing. One of these guys was a 5th-round pick, and all of the other guys were picked in the top 12, and Rattler is playing to a pretty good level. So I don't think that's really disregarding him at all. I think that's really a big compliment to Spencer Rattler. He's been doing an awesome job, and he hasn't necessarily had the same amount of help as some of these other guys. And speaking of supporting cast, we got this tweet out saying the NFL ranks in supporting cast rating according to PFF. Now PFF, their grades are kind of dog shit like 90% of the time. For me, PFF grades are best just for like offensive and defensive line, and even then like they can be bad, so take this for what it is worth. But this is the supporting cast rating, which is the average team PFF grades in rushing, receiving, pass blocking, and run blocking. Basically everything except the quarterback who is throwing the damn football. They got the Bills and the Colts and the Seahawks and the Lions in the top 4. To me, the Bills being number 1 is a little shocking. I thought the Colts would have been, or the Seahawks, or the Lions really. The Bills being number 1 is a little head scratching to me, but then you go all the way down here and the Saints are at 27. And I will say the run blocking outside of that Buffalo game has been pretty bad for the Saints. The pass blocking, I think it's been like middle of the pack. I think there's been some good moments. I think there's been some bad moments. I don't think they're living up to the everyone's a first round pick expectation and standard that they have. But I think the tackles are doing their job, and I think Eric McCoy is doing a good job. I think it's mainly the guard position that's letting up those pressures. Obviously, everyone else is letting up pressures too. Receiving obviously could be better. That's also dependent on the quarterback, but there have been some drops obviously. But the Saints do have good playmakers at the wide receiver spot in Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. I want to see Devon Vele get involved more. Juwan Johnson, not really, he hasn't really been too much of a help in rushing. You can't really get a good running game going without run blocking. So in terms of a supporting cast rating, here is the Saints down here at 27. And none of those other second-year quarterbacks are below the Saints. So Spencer Rattler is dealing, according to PFF grades, which take with a grain of salt, one of the worst supporting casts in the league. And this is just another prime example of PFF grades being dog shit, and why you just have to take them with a grain of salt, because their grades are whack and people only use them for their own agendas, and that's what I'm doing in this video. But in all honesty though, they gave Spencer Rattler a 93.2 PFF grade for his game against the Patriots. Did he deserve a high grade? Absolutely. You could argue that that was the best game of his NFL career versus the Patriots. You could honestly argue that. But the issue here is that Drake Maye is graded below him. Drake Maye should be graded. If you flipped Rattler and Drake Maye's grades, I don't think there'd be that big of an issue. But it's not. So again, PFF grades can be dog shit. They can be really horrendous, but I think Rattler deserved a high grade. Whether he deserved to be in the top 5, I didn't watch every single quarterback's performance, but these two definitely should have been flipped. Sam Darnold being a 1 seems accurate, but I think this does say that Spencer Rattler did play good versus the Patriots, and we are seeing him improve week after week after week. Week 1 versus the Cardinals, it was can he improve his accuracy, and then week 2 versus the 49ers, he did it, and then it was like, can he use his legs a little bit more? Then we skipped the Seahawks game because we don't want to talk about that. Then he uses his legs a lot more in Buffalo. Then versus the Giants, it was, can he get a win? Then he got a win. Can he hit the deep ball he did to Rashid Shaheed? Then versus the Patriots, he hit a deep ball to Chris Olave and played maybe his best game of his NFL career. He's getting better every single week, and he's playing better every single week in my opinion. Now, I just want to make this clear. I'm also not calling him a franchise quarterback. But the big news here, or the big takeaway here, is that the Saints are 1-5, and they're not necessarily 1-5 because the quarterback is unplayable. And to me, that's a win. They do not have the worst quarterback in the NFL. That is a win, because coming into the season, everyone projected the Saints to have the worst quarterback in the NFL. I don't blame them, because no one knew jack shit. But now, through 6 weeks of the season, you could say Rattler's maybe like the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, whatever, 20 to 25 best quarterback in the league, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's playing good. He's not the biggest issue with this team. You could say the defensive line, the run blocking, the tight end position, the secondary, the defensive scheme, coaching, whatever. He's not the biggest issue with the team, and that is a win in itself considering they're 1-5, but he's still relatively playing well. We got this tweet up about like EPA per play. What the hell does EPA even mean? Do they got that up here? Why don't we look this up? What does EPA mean in football? Expected points added. Okay, well, there you go. Expected points added is what EPA means, and Rattler is at 9th. Well, does that mean he's a good QB? Who knows? I mean, Derek Carr used to be like top 5 on these lists, and we used to not give a crap. But the difference here is that this dude's a 5th round pick in the 2nd season, and You know, he's behind Baker Mayfield and ahead of Justin Herbert and Stafford. Doesn't mean he's playing better than those guys. Absolutely not. I think this basically means he's avoiding negative plays and being productive. I think that's basically what this means. If it's not, let me know in the comments, because I'm a casual. And it works because I'm Kaj. But yeah, Spencer Rattler ranked 9th in terms of adjusted EPA per play, adjusted for pass protection, drops, dropped interceptions, fumble recoveries, interception returns, credits for expected yards after the catch only, and accounting for defenses faced. So there's that information, and Caleb Williams is at 34. What does that mean? I got no idea. Geno Smith being down. Dylan Gabriel doesn't even have a photo. That's hilarious. Same type of situation we got going on here. EPA scramble leaders. Spencer Rattler's at plus 12.1, one of the better quarterbacks when it comes to scrambling. Take that for what it's worth. I think that's something he's definitely added to his game. And I think not even just scrambling, just using his feet. This is the perfect play to showcase. Like, he's doing an excellent job when it comes to using his legs and extending plays. Third down. Look at Kelvin Banks. Look at Kelvin Banks on that left side. Trevor Penning getting beat. Look at Fuaga. I'm getting a little distracted, but look at Rattler maneuvering the pocket, finding a way, under some pressure, dumps it off to AKA against an incoming defender for the first down. It's plays like that. He's using his legs a lot more, using them a lot better, finding lanes, maneuvering the pocket, and then finding guys downfield. He's doing a much better job of that and scrambling. The crazy part about this too is that Spencer Rattler is starting to get like national attention from people who cover the league. You got Mike Renner, who covers at CBS Sports, saying he's got no clue if Spencer Rattler's a franchise quarterback, but Rattler is starting to earn more runway than just the season as a starter. I agree, he's definitely solidified himself as someone who belongs in the NFL as a starter or a high-end backup. Then you also had Greg Bedard, who covers the Patriots, saying that Spencer Rattler had the second best career passer rating. He doesn't agree that this person said that Rattler got a generous PFF grade. Basically, the guy who covers the Patriots said Spencer Rattler had a good game and that he agrees that he got a high PFF grade. And then you also have Brett Coleman, who covers the NFL, saying that he watched back the Patriots game and that the Saints have something here. The Saints offensive line is Saiv, whatever the hell that word is, or whatever that means in pass protection. They have no pass rush to speak of themselves. Agreed. The Saints pass rush, no bueno, not good. And Spencer Rattler still has this team being competitive. And I agree with this last statement, whether you do or not, depending on how Mendoza and Dante Moore and all those guys finish out the season. But at this point, he would skip on the QB class and just take Bain, the Miami edge rusher. I'd also take Arvell Reese, the Ohio State linebacker. That dude's a monster. Fix that pass rush, get a pass catcher at wide receiver in the second round. Might be cooking there. And going over Spencer Rattler's 6 starts this season compared to his 6 starts last season, he played a total of 7 games. That one half versus Washington, he didn't start. But let's just ignore the record. Let's just cover that up. But 9 more completions on 25 less passing attempts, 11 better completion percentage, 100 less yards, so he's throwing the ball a little bit less downfield this season than last season. 2 more touchdowns though, 4 less interceptions, 3 less first downs. The big one here too is sacks. He's taken half the amount of sacks and basically the same amount of games. That's really impressive. 8 more rushing attempts for 3 less yards. 15 first downs compared to 7 first downs last season. So he's running the ball a little bit more, maybe having more success getting first downs and stuff like that. He could have had that touchdown receiving versus the Bills, but that was picked off. I think in the end, Spencer Rattler is playing a lot better than people would have expected. He's maybe playing better than what you think, depending on where you land on the Spencer Rattler spectrum, whether you love him or hate him. And here's the thing that's confusing to me. A lot of people who cover the NFL professionally, a lot of people who are expert analysts, commentators, or guys who cover other teams who are talking about Spencer Rattler, are talking about him in a high fashion, that this dude is playing well, they might have something here. And yet it's Saints fans who want to bash and call him trash and blame everything on him. There's Saints fans out there who think Spencer Rattler's not even a starter. Maybe they just want to see Tyler Shuck. I don't really know. But I think this is just proof that people have an agenda, and they're going to stick with it whether they're right or wrong. My personal opinion, not a franchise quarterback yet, but definitely belongs in the NFL. He's getting better each week, and we should just let him develop. And I'm almost at the point where I just would want to see him play the rest of the season. Does he have to win games? Absolutely, but I mean, he did everything he possibly could to beat the Patriots, and his team let him down, and there's not really anyone to bail him out when he needs to be bailed out. But when he needs to bail someone else out, all the blame goes on him. So I think the fair take here is that he's just a developing young player who needs to get better, especially in the red zone. Can he score in the red zone? That's a big thing. But the guy's getting better every week and is developing. And he's got a tough task coming up versus the Chicago Bears, and we're going to do a preview video about that tomorrow on Saturday. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Help support the channel. I'm Kaj, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.